Gary's frozen, or he can hold a good stance.
Gary's got a painting on the screen. Guys, we're back with another episode of Talking Preps. Like I tell you guys every week, you should see what goes on before and after the show, because it's always a good time. I'm going to hit the music, and then we're going to come back and have a good time.
We're back.
I think we're back.
I hope so.
Gary, are you with us, Gary?
I'm trying. Yeah, I think so for the time being. We're going to see what happens.
If Gary freezes up and goes like, Billy D. Williams.
Yeah.
It's just because
how convenient for him when he's got to do coach versus coach with me. Like he's going to tell
like, who is Billy D. Williams? Kenzie's like, who was Billy D. Williams? Who was that?
How convenient.
All right off the top, Gary, we were talking in the back. You were saying you got onto a really important vote recently about Vance High School. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Back early in the summer when the protests started, the student body at Vance asked, could they change the name, because Vance is named after a former Confederate governor who owned slaves. And so the school system told them to come up with a committee, which the principal did. I was able to get on the committee. It was open to anybody. So it mainly was faculty and parents and former students and former teachers, which I was one at Vance. And so we spent all summer coming up with names. The criteria, it had to be somebody from Mecklenburg County or from North Carolina, rather, and they had to be deceased. And so after about 30 names, it got whittled down to 5, and those names were given to the community to vote on. And the student body voted for University City, I think, was their first choice. And the community voted for Julius Chambers High School. Julius Chambers was the civil rights attorney from Mecklenburg County, instrumental in the desegregation of Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. And
what do you think of Julius Chambers High School, Chris? How do you think that would play out?
I have mixed feelings, and not against him. In fact, I understand the very significant and important contributions that Chambers made within Charlotte-Mecklenburg region and really within the state. So if it had to be named after a person, I am 100% in support of that and then some, and I think it's an extremely appropriate name, and I like that, and I think it's got a good name to it. I'm also someone though that I love a school being named after a community, and I don't mind University City, something geographical that brings that community together, whether the name of the community or the city or what have you. But it's one of those, I can go one way or the other, but when it comes to Chambers, as Gary is, I'm 100% in support of it.
Yeah, Gary, they're going to change the color scheme, but it'll be the same colors.
Same school color, same mascot. The school board is going to make a decision in the next couple of weeks based on the voting that they have. As I said, the students are in favor of, I think Queen City High is their favorite, and the community is in favor of Julius Chambers. And so it's not going to be on who gets the most votes. It's basically going to be on what the school system or the school board decides.
Well, Gary, you saw Country Day and Charlotte Christian play as your first private school football game. What were your thoughts on those two teams in the game?
I'm frozen again.
You're not frozen.
You're good.
He's frozen.
He's kind of frozen. All right, while he works that out.
In and out.
Sam and Dale and Kenzie, you guys saw a game this week as well. You guys saw Latin and Country Day. I mean, give me your thoughts on that game.
It was blowout.
Boy.
It was a blowout within the first quarter. And then, second quarter, you're like, oh, it could even out. And then it was a blowout again. But, I mean, Providence Day played a great game. You got to hand them that. Latin did not. Their defense, I think, did the best they could. Their offense couldn't get going, and that was the story of the whole game.
Yeah, I think Chad Grice.
I think it's an issue of not that they couldn't because of Providence Day. Providence Day has a team. The body difference was huge. So physicality really played out in this game. So, not having football for a long time, and I was excited. I had a nice car ride with Kenzie, got to learn a little bit about her. We had our little thoughts about the game. But Langston, I tell you, man, you get there, and of course I'm wanting to smell grass and it's turf, fantastic facility. And then when I was looking at when you go to a game, the first thing that you do is you watch the warm-ups and you look to see how athletic people are, and just to try to get a good feel for what the players might be like.
Right.
And just as soon as you look at them, it's like, oh my gosh, they're monsters. PD's loaded with monsters, and Latin was so small. And I don't know if it's so small because PD was so big, but what to watch a ball game that they scored so many in, and yet they had 3 turnovers consecutively in the game, 3 interceptions.
Yep.
So they got some things to work out. They threw some good balls, didn't throw some good balls. But, man, defensively, they're pretty solid. The defenses are always ahead because there's more there's more on offense to get. But those guys played well.
Sam,
Sam, I know I played well.
Yeah, Sam put a tweet out. You made a really big statement on Twitter about Coach Greer and where they could be going.
Yeah, they're going to have a national schedule in the next couple of years because he's so great with his social media approach. His family is heavily, viewed and followed, and he's followed by over like 300,000 people on Instagram as well. He's a great coach. He's a great ambassador for Providence Day. He's going to be phenomenal, and their football team is really, really good. I don't see them losing in private school this year.
Wow. Can we get a West Charlotte Christian game next year?
I love Jason Easta. He's a great coach, but I just think they're going to be.
I'm sorry. Can we get a West Charlotte Providence Day game next year? I'm sorry.
I would love that. Yeah, I would do that next year. Yeah.
Sam got about 20 games next year.
I know,
right?
Exactly. He's looking at everybody.
All right, Gary, since you're back, tell us about your experience at your first private school game, seeing Country Day and Charlotte Christian.
It's a lot like Dale said. I mean, it was unique in that you didn't smell the concession stands. You didn't hear the marching bands warming up in the background, and you couldn't smell the grass, of course, because they were playing on turf. My first impression was both teams were well coached. They both were trying to discover an identity. I think that Christian discovered theirs early on with the running game, but then the running back got hurt. It took Country Day until the second half to figure out what they could do well, which was run the quarterback. And he had a lot of success in the second half, rolling out, passing, as well as running.
Yeah.
I think Christian was a lot deeper than Country Day, but as you mentioned, that's the first time in my coaching career, which is over now, but anyway, that I'd seen a private school game.
Right.
I was kind of surprised at the size.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have players could definitely play at the public school level, but you just don't have nearly as many, and definitely not enough that could go both ways.
Right.
To have
that wasn't. I will say that was an atypical Charlotte Christian team. The teams they fielded in the past have been a lot bigger and deeper than what we saw on Friday. I will say that. Kenzie, air raid. Grice was on here talking last week about 630 yards and Mike Leach, and they beat LSU. And what happened? They played Arkansas.
Yeah.
What happened?
My Arkansas team, we pulled through. Our defensive coordinator is great. He was the old coach at Missouri. A lot of people, including myself, didn't think he necessarily deserved to get fired. He came in with a game plan, and they executed it beautifully. And talking about depth, Arkansas does not have that. I don't know if you know this. We haven't been that successfully great in the past few years. We've struggled a little bit. And so for them to go in and be also confident about this air raid, we forced them to do 12, 14, 16 consecutive plays, and they can't do it. They can't put a drive together. It's not going to work in the SEC because –
Look at Sam up there nodding his head.
They was going to get
– Did they get the film and they figured it out and LSU didn't figure it out? Is that what it was?
What?
I was asking Sam, did they just get the film of LSU and they figured out how to stop it? Is that what it was?
Well, yeah. Kenzie was telling me that they only had like 3 people in the box in the whole thing. I think that they learned that you got to attack the air raid with leverage. And I think that they had a lot of people on the perimeter playing leverage. Instead of like 6 people in the box and then redirecting to the flats, it's very hard for a team to look this way and then play over here. And I think that them playing spread out and playing outside in affected it really good for them against the air raid.
All right. Well, now it's time for you guys to take over for Coach Grice. It's time for Grice's Gems.
Let's do it.
All right.
Man, we got to get this thing rolling. I was trying to fill Grice's shoes. Those are some mighty big shoes. They're probably about size 14s, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, he's got some big shoes. And
he sure does.
A lot of tread work, too, because he's been running a lot. So.
Wow, he's been getting it done.
Mm-hmm. Well, Grice and Jim, we're going to have a video playing for him or no?
Yeah, I'm late to the party. I didn't even see the script, so I'm ready to roll. I'm just going to go with the flow.
I'll tell you what, well, the first Jim is Jaden Davis.
I'm trying to get the video. Hold on.
Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. I knew I wasn't late.
Yeah. Man, I got every stat needed. If you can't get it, I can just stat
I was going to say, maybe we can roll that beautiful bean footage right here. Here we go.
There we go.
All right, let's take a look at this film. Tyler Green, Cabarrus Warriors, that's Cannon School and used to be First Assembly that assembled to make this team. Let's check him out.
Let's definitely check him out. That is that.
There we go.
Wait a minute. I'm off my game today, guys. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong video.
It should be Jaden Davis.
Wait a minute. I got all kind of wrong.
I'm prepared for Jaden Davis.
I knew there was something wrong. I was like, why is it like the wrong thing? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's live TV, folks. It's live TV.
Live TV.
It's my fault for being on the road all day.
Ain't our first rodeo.
No, I'm not. I was not prepared today. I'm having a bad day. Hopefully, I won't do it later again on Fresh Faces.
Oh, there we go.
Jaden Davis,
there we go.
Quarterback.
There we
go. See, I had it. I just keep
great looking uniforms too.
This guy went 14 for 25 passing for 122 yards and a touchdown to help lead the Copperheads to a 15-0 win over York. Where I grew up, I was sad to see that because I picked York.
And I picked the Copperheads.
Yeah, good job. Davis tossed a 9-yard touchdown pass to Nate Francis in the victory. The win breaks a 9-game losing streak dating back to
last year.
Stuart Kramer. Yeah, Stuart Kramer. That's almost a year ago. So that's really good. I think that their program is going to be really, really moving fast in the right direction. And having a freshman quarterback doing what he's doing right now, he has seniors that are backing him. Seniors are like proud of him.
I like his poise. He had a lot of poise.
Yeah, here's your guy, Jay Jones, coach. Providence Day.
Jay Brandon Jones. All right, Mountain Island charter transfer, had a monster debut. Senior linebacker was all over the field for the Chargers, recording 12 tackles, including 6 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 hurry and 1 pass deflection to help lead his team to a 48-0 win over Charlotte Latin in the season opener. I tell you what, their defense is what I knew that they were going to be good on offense, but their defense is what stood out to me in the game. They have a really good defense, and that's how they're going to win championships and get that national schedule eventually, because we know their offense is going to be good with Chad Greer at the helm coaching them up. But the defense, to be able to stop people, and they were hitting people. I mean, it didn't look like the first game. It looked like they were like been chained up and then let go and then ripping people.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, let me ask you this. When you say he had 4 sacks, was he coming up the middle or was he rushing from the outside?
Both. He would do both. They would do a loop blitz, but a lot of times it was like A-gap stunts. But he was rolling. But the thing is,
I was there as well, and I saw him coming through the edge. And that first step, he was able to go to the outside or make a quick step out and go inside. Very, very destructive.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Gary, here's your guy, the guy we saw last week, Henry Rutledge. I know he went out with AC joint, but boy, he was impressive early on.
Oh, early on, he was a one-man gang. Not only did he run the ball well, he can also kick off. I think, was he the punter also?
He was the punter too, yeah.
He was the punter. He was the kicker. I mean, he's a weapon. But he really hit the holes. He gassed Country Day in the first quarter, right up the middle. I think he was averaging almost 15 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And once he got injured, the Christian didn't have the same consistency moving the ball. They still ran it okay, but he's a game breaker.
This is the kid that got hurt?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. The one thing that I can tell about his game is his lateral quickness is superior. Like, he's very good at going, putting a foot in the ground and redirecting. He's got to work a little bit on his top end speed. I can see that when he's pulling away, he's not bad, but for him to go to the highest, level in college, being Division I recruit, he's going to have to work on that top end speed. But you can tell his vision and his lateral quickness is really, really good.
But when he kicked off, he put the ball in the end zone. That's something they did back in the 1950s when the kicker was the best athlete on the team.
No doubt. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was. I mean, he was really impressive. Until he got hurt, like that game was going to kind of be like the game you guys saw over Providence Day. And then once he went out, Country Day really couldn't move the ball, and they were playing freshmen and sophomores, and they had running back, and they just had a tough time moving it. And they threw it a little bit in the second half with Matthew Tuamala, I think is his name, and they moved the ball pretty well. Christian and Providence Day is going to be an interesting game next week because it's probably going to be a preview of the conference championship and the state championship. You ever faced the team 3 times in 1 year, Sam?
No, not in football.
that could very, very well happen this year in the private school.
That's crazy.
All right, we're gonna talk about our game of the week, and that's with Kenzie, Gary, and Dale. So I got to make sure I'm getting folks out and getting folks in. Kenzie, Gary, Dale, and I got to play the bumper music. Here we go.
Get my charger for me.
Oh boy!
Didn't hear the music.
The music, the intro's a bit short. It's a big game, at least for Indian Land. South Point, big win last week, but Lancaster's been a kind of up and down program, and who knows what they'll be like this season. South Point might be on track for another state championship. Loaded, great coaching, but this is I think this is a good opportunity to see what Coach Hastings is going to be able to do down there at Indian Land. Gary, any thoughts?
Well, like
Kenzie?
you say, I think it's even on the coaching staffs. Indian Land is gonna need to pull out some surprises, some things maybe South Point hadn't seen before, some wrinkles on offense and defense, because I think South Point probably has more size and a little bit more speed than Indian Land. And South Port's probably going to be favored, and that would be my pick. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it go deep into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Both of these teams had shutouts last week, so I think a big part of it is going to see that new Indian Land offense, new scheme, new coach, seeing if they can score against a well-established South Point defense.
You know, one of the things about South Point, or I'll say anywhere, when a kid can go back and coach where he played, and big games, that might be a big thing. Hastings, while he's a new coach, he does have a lot of experience coaching. He's been around a lot of coaches. He coached under Coach Harden over at Providence. I think he can put together a scheme. He's got a great staff. I don't know the full staff that Holloman's got, but that's a pretty good staff that's sitting over at Indian Land.
Is it the same Holloman that played for the Cowboys in the NFL?
Yes.
Yeah, he started.
Yeah, Devontae played at Independent.
Yeah, he started with
started out in Independence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody thought he was going to be a quarterback. And he never really played that position, not at the varsity level. He was always a DB guy, but same guy. He's putting together a good staff down there. Certainly have the athletes, and boy, so you guys think it's going to be a close? I can expect a close game. I could expect to see a late third, fourth quarter type game where it's won in the latter part of the game.
What is the attendance?
A low scoring game.
What is the attendance like? What is the attendance like in South Carolina?
My understanding is that South Carolina is 50%.
Okay.
So at least that's what it was down at Irmo. I talked to Margot, right? Margot Long.
Yes.
And she went down to watch Aaron Brand play, and she told me that it was 50%. So they must be able to. Chris, have you heard?
I don't know. I didn't know if it was 50%, but I saw Indian Land at York a few weeks ago, and there was a decent amount of guys in the stands. I didn't think it was quite 50%, but I knew that they were allowing fans in there. And to kind of just talk about this game for a minute, because I have seen Indian Land twice this year. They're a very sneaky good team. You know, I still think that they're a few weeks away from being what they can be. But with Coach Hastings and Rocky White and just, I mean, this whole Charlotte South kind of lineup they got on the coaching staff, you can tell how solidly coached that team is. But on the flip side, we know that the Stallions are going to be really good. I think they've probably got the edge talent-wise. But I think that Hastings and that Indian Land bunch, I think they're good enough to take this game well into the fourth quarter. And you never know. You get that far, you never know.
Well, looks like everybody's gone but you, Chris. So I think it's that time to head over to Chris's corner.
Man, and still great to have that little bumper music right there. Just very appreciative of the opportunity to get on here and talk to you folks. And you might notice I'm wearing some green and gold colors tonight. Very kind of a bittersweet day for me here and a lot of people that follow high school football very closely. A really close and good friend of mine, and really just a good friend of high school sports in general. Pastor Ricky Jacobs, long time team chaplain and longtime minister down in Rockingham, passed away this week from some complications from COVID-19. And he was able to have his funeral inside Raider Stadium today, which is an incredible honor. You think of the greats that have come through that school, but nobody has funerals in that stadium. But Ricky Jacobs did today, and I think that that's going to show you just how important a figure he was. Spent 36 years as a preacher there. And I've known him whenever I started coaching at Douglas Spur, just for whatever reason. We were playing down at Richmond. I was a JV coach. He took a liking to me and kind of put me under my wing. And, I gave him my phone number, and it never failed. He would call me a couple times a season, sometimes a couple times a month, just to leave me a prayer, just to talk about me. And you just never knew. You always knew that when you walked in that stadium, he was going to find you. And he always had bags and bags full of chewing gum and sunflower seeds and just all sorts of goodies that he loved to give out to the other coaches and some of the fans and just people there in the stadium. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to honor Coach Jacobs. Pastor Jacobs, great man, meant a lot to that community, meant a lot to high school football and of course to me, and just want to send out my condolences to his family and all the coaching staff and players and everybody in Rockingham, because he's going to be sorely missed.
I met Coach Jacobs when I went to their 2 games, and you're talking about a phenomenal man. There's no doubt I know where he's at now. He's in glory. He wore that across his sleeve, and I love it about him.
Yeah, Sam, and you're right. And, it's sad, and, I hate that he's gone. But, I kind of feel good inside knowing that he wouldn't trade places with us in a heartbeat. He's where he wants to be, and, that's what it's all about.
He got all the bubble gum in the world. He probably passing out bubble gum, upstairs, baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time. It's Kinsey time. Tell me who you interviewed this past week.
Interviewed Zach at Providence Day and made that kid have himself a game. He hits very, very, very hard.
That's number 56, right?
I was going up against him. Absolutely petrified.
Yeah, number 56, right?
What?
56, right? Number 56.
Yeah, 56. He's a man.
Hardest hit I've seen on anybody in high school in the last 10 years was done by him this last Friday on the punter. Give the punter credit on Charlotte. He popped right back up, but it was like a sledgehammer. It was brutal.
Yeah, it took him about 5 yards back.
All right, let's check it out. Let's check this.
Zach, you were just fantastic, and you certainly showed why tonight with a strip fumble. How did that feel?
It felt so good. We've been working for 4 months straight, no games. We didn't know if we were going to play. So you can play a defense. I just had a wide open hole, decided to make a play, and it really helped our team, and then we went down and scored. So, it was everything I wanted.
That's awesome. You played both ways. I don't think I saw you come out for a play. How did you keep going, mentally, physically, so exhausted?
We've been working all summer. As coach was talking about, we condition all the time. He says it's not for punishment, it's for our own good, and it really helps you out on Friday night when you have all the energy to play and you can make plays too, so really awesome.
Zach, I have one final question. How much does the statement "hard work works" really apply in this situation?
It's the definition, and we live by that statement. Hard work works. You put in the work, you're going to get results. So, it's best of both worlds.
Thanks, Zach. Truly means a lot.
No problem.
Yeah, Zach's the real deal. I'm talking. He's what popped out to me when I watched the game. He was the one guy I focused on. I was like, wow, he's going to Davidson College, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I tell you, if he actually goes there, they got a great one. I just don't. I think he's a Power 5 guy, but he might want to go.
Wow, that's a big goal.
He's good.
100% Power 5 guy.
Him and 5'1", I tell you, him 5'1" and 12. Oh my goodness! But
you guys are really
watching 51.
We all got to go to Providence Day Christian next week. Everybody,
let's do it.
He stood out to me. His size was off the chain. It was like he was a man amongst some boys out there. And I agree. I don't know if he's SEC good, but some schools like Wake Forest and Duke and some of these schools that thrive on academics, he's the guy they need to look at because he could every bit play in the ACC.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's got to be good.
All right, guys. I don't have Grice here to help me, so I need y'all to help me. I'm going to play the theme music for Fresh Faces, and hopefully I won't be as bad as I was during Grice's gyms. Here we go.
Ooh,
There we go. Spencer
There we
Merman.
go.
These are middle
Spencer
school
Merman.
highlights. I apologize, Kenzie, but go ahead and tell us about it.
we want to talk about a man amongst boys. This is it. 6'5", 215 pounds as a sophomore in high school. That is crazy ridiculous to me. He went off at Charlotte Christian, though, had 4 tackles, 3 for a loss, and a half a sack. That's what you call a game. But this kid, for his size and how his age is, he gets to the ball quickly and he has great ball awareness, knows exactly where it is. He gets off that first step and he's gone. He's also a multi-sport athlete, plays basketball and track. He's a pretty good basketball player, I hear, too. So he's definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch in the future. I enjoyed watching his highlights this morning. So
Sydney McCourt made a little history on Friday night, Dale, the first private school girl to ever play football.
Yeah, I was excited when I saw that I had her because it blew me up Friday night when Coach Greer told us a story about her and being the first private school girl to play. I'm all about women excelling and having opportunities, and even in athletics and football. So to have this young lady break this, it surprised me that they had gone so long without having females play.
Absolutely. Omega Blake from South Point. Dale, I think you had this one too.
This guy. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to take him. Watch this kid. He runs. He's long. Of course, I'm not going to say any receiver can make that play, but watch some of these highlights, how the kid goes up over and takes the ball away. He definitely takes advantage of his height. He takes advantage of that height, that athleticism. Right here's one where he goes up to grab it. Watch this. It's also about what you do with the ball after you catch it. That's another big thing. Now, this is not one of those plays. Coming up is one. This is another. Just be there and catch it.
Now, I like to see number 7 for Indian Land going against this kid because I like that kid a lot. I watched him play, but this kid right here can fly.
Also
I think this is one of those after here we go. So he's committed to USC, is that right?
That's correct, I do believe. And we got R.J. Lincoln of
the USC in Columbia.
Okay, yeah, R.J. Lincoln is you see that?
Ooh.
He plays on both sides of the ball as a linebacker. I think you just saw his linebacking skills. And as a running back. So he's not going to be coming off the field a lot against South Point. I think is that who they play, Catawba Ridge?
Yeah. Well, last week they did.
Yes.
Then we got Thomas Flynn of Providence Day. He's going to have a big year to places throwing the football.
Yeah, definitely with the scheme. They have the ability, even in running downs, they can just throw it up to this guy. He reminds me a little bit of Brandon Marshall. He's very good with his body. He knows how to use it. It's like he's boxing people out like a basketball player. His top end speed is not phenomenal, but he knows that. So he works, kind of like that guy that played wide receiver for Butler, Mickey Brewer, I think it was his name, a few years ago. But this kid right here is going to have a big season just because a big body, got great hands, and he knows how to manipulate the routes and use his body in it. Pretty good.
I think he's going. He had 7 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns last week versus Latin. They'll probably play, I think, 8 games this season altogether. He could still approach 1,000 yards. They're going to throw the ball a whole lot for career.
Definitely. I mean, his highlight tape is probably really long because
Richmond Senior got a good one in Jaleel Davis, Chris.
All right, my man Jalil Davis, and I promise you it was a coincidence that I've got this Richmond County shirt on with Davis, but he is every bit a man-child, strong, solid commitment to NC State. I think that he was good enough to play at any level within the FBS level, had many offers at some other major schools, also a couple in-state schools. But this is just a big, bruising young man. Is a tackle in high school, big 300-pounder, great young man. He could maybe be moved to the interior in college, but I think that he's got the tackle body, just like everything about him. And he kind of fits the mold of that Richmond County and that Brian Tilt coach team because he's dirty, he's physical. And I don't mean they're a dirty team, but, when I got a lineman down there in that interior, I want that guy to get dirty and be able to do things to help move the chains and protect the quarterback. And I think he's that. Great young man, great in the classroom, great person in general. And, I find stuff like that to be even more important than the acumen on the football field. But again, he just does it for me. And remember, he's in one of the toughest 4A conferences in North Carolina. So, they've had to go neck and neck with the Scotland counties and the 71st and Jack Britt and Pinecrest of the world. And he's still able to show his skills. And that man is just a great guy. He's got a huge future ahead of him up at NC State.
Mm-hmm. Chris,
you can use the word physicality instead of dirty.
And I didn't mean dirty. He's back there doing you
know what you mean, though.
Yeah,
I know exactly what
Chris,
you mean.
my question, Chris, if you're talking about best team in the state right now, is it Vance? Is it Richmond? Greenville Rose, I hear, is going to be really good.
Greenville Rose is going to be the surprise team talent-wise in the 3A. I still think talent, top to bottom, and when I say talent, I'm talking about the sheer numbers of 120 guys in the weight room, and the team strength, team speed. If you're able to factor them all together, I think Richmond is the most top to bottom talented team. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to win a state championship. There's so many factors involved in that, but I just think talent-wise, they are right there with anybody.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see when we finally get a record of who actually is leaving to go to college in January and who's not, and then have to kind of reconfigure our rankings. I understand that Richmond County does not have early graduation programs, so their 3 kids, I believe, are all going to be back in school.
Yeah.
The Vance people tell me, Gary, that power echoes or no power echoes, they're still going to play man free. They're still going to press up. They're going to play the way they always have, and they got other linebackers to plug in the gap, and they will be just as good defensively as they were last year. And offensively, they think they're going to be better because the quarterback's back. Thoughts?
Don't doubt it.
Vance doesn't rebuild, they reload.
Yeah, Vance has got a lot of stuff.
They got athletes that can't wait to get on the field, and now they've established that culture. Of course, it started with Coach Brand, but it's carried over to the new staff because it had some holdovers from the previous staff, and that culture that they have at Vance, it's next man up. It doesn't make a difference who leaves.
I kind of get the feeling
it reminds me of the independence culture when the Knots teams were running.
Wow, that's high praise. That's very high praise.
Let me tell you something that's unusual that I found out. This summer, last summer when I was coaching at Hickory Ridge, we were going to play Vance and in a 7-on-7, and they were running late. And when they finally got there, the coach apologized. But it took him by surprise because the players refused to leave school until after they got their weight training session in.
Wow.
It didn't matter that
when they went to go play Richmond last year, they stopped at Anson on the way to get the weights in before
to get their lifting in.
And this is the kids, not the coaches.
Yeah.
That's
they got
the culture right there.
They have a good culture there. And Farabee, I'm the biggest Aaron Brand fan in the world, but I think Farabee fits that program really well. And he took what Brand did and took it to the next level. And I think they feel disrespected. As much as you can be disrespected as a state champion, Kinsey, I think they feel disrespected as a state champion. All right, it's time for you guys to go to the 2-minute warning. So I'm going to get out the way. Dale, you can have it.
Actually, Gary, you're supposed to start this round.
I got you. Well, look, I went to my first private school game since I started coaching high school football over 25 years ago. This past Friday night between Charlotte Christian and Charlotte Country Day. And what surprised me more than anything was the size of both teams, as far as the physical stature of the players. The numbers were the same as you would see in a public school, but you had quite a few kids that were going both ways. And I've often heard that the best private schools can compete with 4A high school teams. What's your thought?
So, Gary, color of this beard tells you I've been around Charlotte a long time. So I've seen a number of private school games, not nearly as many as I've seen public school, but I've also seen at a minimum, for the longest time, the two did not play any at all. But the privates do play Charlotte Catholic, and
Right.
the privates do play some of the schools over in Union County. So I have seen Country Day play and Providence Day play. I watched Charlotte Christian play Mallard Creek. I would say that the teams that I just mentioned, there have been times that Latin has been there, but they could beat 90% of the 4A teams in North Carolina. Because you got to remember, not every team is advanced like we were just talking about, or an independence like we were talking about. The things that those programs have for them is not so much the size of the players, because normally Christian has big players. I mean, they have Power 5 players playing for them, line, in the backfield. So they have size, but they typically lack depth.
Okay.
They're normally about a 30 to at most 40 player team, but normally in that 30 to 35 player team. And then they do have players that go both ways. As you get to the bigger programs where you've got, 60 kids on varsity, you can get away from that having to play both sides. So my belief is most certainly they can, and they can even play with the best in 4AA, but that's typically going to run out on them badly by the fourth quarter when they'll wear down. So to beat 4AA teams like Advance, I mean, you got to step back a second. Country Day plays nose to nose and beats Charlotte Catholic. Charlotte Catholic's 4A state champion caliber, 4A champion team. Charlotte Catholic, ask Aaron Brand about Charlotte Catholic. Brand went to a number of regionals, and who was in his way, or a number of playoffs, but they did get him in the first game. So anyway, I believe they can play. It's just at that 4AA level that it's tough.
Kenzie?
Yeah, I think they lack depth. The private school game we saw, a majority of the players that they played were playing both ways. Like I said, Zach played offensive line, special teams, defense, and he was expected to play all of those the whole game. And I think that's the same for a lot of private schools. Your best players are going to play both ways, and that's a large majority of the team. Where I'm just going to use Huff, who is not advanced. They haven't won a state championship. They have a lot of guys. Evan Pryor is not playing two ways. Mario Love is not playing two ways. Cohen Sutton is not playing two ways. Those guys just get to go play their position and do it well, and then they get to go to the sidelines and have a break. They get to play that kind of college-ish, I'm not going to play both ways, but I'm going to get a little bit of rest, and I'm not going to wear out. But there are some private schools that can play. Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, those guys would run over Vance in a heartbeat. But that's the top national program. It's a top private school, so it really just depends on what type of private school you're talking about and the numbers they have. Depth is going to beat a lot of times talent because you wear out.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're both right when you say that it's the number of quality players that they have on both sides of the ball. And I know Christian took Mallard Creek to the fourth quarter one year, and eventually Mallard Creek won, and I think it had a lot to do with them having more players and more depth than Charlotte Christian had, and that was in August too, so it was very hot, and I think Christian just ran out of gas.
Yep.
Yeah. So we saw History Friday. Providence Day, Sydney McCorkle was the first girl to play in a high school football game. Not only that, she was also the first girl to score points in a private school football game. Want to know your thoughts on girls playing football more and where we're heading in the future. Gary?
Well,
so
I used to teach a law class back when I was teaching social studies before I retired. And this is where Title IX comes in, where, you know, for a lot of sports, you have both sides, like track. You have female track, male track. Swimming, you have female swimming, male swimming. Golf, tennis, soccer, softball, baseball. But football is the one sport where you don't have a comparable sport for females. So, you know, based on Title IX law, you have to allow them the opportunity to compete. Now, you know, numbers have fallen off in high school football all across the country, and most programs don't cut anymore. And so before we had a drastic decline in the number of teenagers playing high school football, the problem that females ran into was, okay, they're going to have to compete for a position or they're going to get cut. I know most schools in Charlotte Mech, they don't cut anymore. And so I think it's great that they have an opportunity to participate. You know, I think they probably should start at the JV level if you're talking about the public schools. But once you get up to the varsity level, you know, these females have to be able, more than anything, to protect themselves. I don't think you can put somebody out there who hadn't been in a weight training program, who's not an athlete, somebody just to say that they're on a team and then they don't know how to protect themselves. That's the biggest issue for me is safety. Can they protect themselves? And the way that you would find that out is, you know, what is their background in playing? Did they play in middle school? Have they played in a youth league? Let's see how they perform on the JV level. But the main thing is safety, because once you start getting into 16, 17, 18-year-old males, they're most of them are going to be a lot stronger and faster than most females. Not all, but most. And you have to take in safety into consideration. Dale?
Yeah, so I was excited. As an individual, I believe not just in the equality thing. I feel like women in some cases may be superior to us. There are situations. And so I want them to have all their opportunities that they can. When it comes to football, it's certainly, I know from playing and being around the sport, it's a very physical game. And thus, where are the areas that a female can fit into? From just a pure aggressive and the nature of competitiveness that is needed for athletics, I'm going to tell you, if you've never been to a female soccer game, a women's soccer game, you need to go. They're more vicious than the guys are. So I don't think they have an issue there. But when you get on a football field, where can they play is the question. Of course, she's a kicker, and she's not a bad one. She's a pretty good kicker, actually. Decent leg for her age. And I've seen boys her age that could not kick the ball as far as she could, and she was very accurate. So I think as a kicker, just like any other, soccer player comes to play, the weight training, et cetera, is going to be the same. I'm concerned about, the bone structure, et cetera, of females playing other positions, but if they can, then I'm all for it. So if there's a female that can play nose guard, and she wants to play nose guard, get her out there and let her play, just as long as she's, she understands the risk. She's gone through the same development of weight training, because you can't just, a kicker couldn't go out there. So a guy that all he does is kicks balls, and then coach says, okay, you're going to play nose guard. That'd be bad, right? He's not had the lifting and et cetera to have his body prepared to take those hits, or even the experience of taking those hits. Because that's the other thing I thought on Friday night, because of when you come into play, and we talked about this last week, the first time you do Oklahoma, that's those first few times you get hit. Same thing with the female. So that's my only concern, is if they want to do it, they should do it. If they want, you got a girl that wants to be a D end, let her come out and do it. Let her, if she can do the things, let her go through. Coaches need to be conscious of her development before they put her out there. And I guess doctors should tell us about, bone, et cetera. Could a female take a Power Eccles, hit? That hit that we saw Friday night.
I know for a fact this female could not.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I've been joking for years that I'm a linebacker committed to Alabama, and I've had multiple boys believe me. So, and just, I'm 5'6", so that would be a stretch if I was a boy anyway. But, I mean, there's a lot of safety issues involved. I mean, I've been accidentally pushed by a boy in the hallway and gone multiple feet away because they're just that much stronger. There's a physical level that I'm never going to be able to reach of a teenage boy, and I'm happy about that. I don't want to get that muscular. I don't want to get that strong. There's a lot of positives to not having that amount of testosterone for me, but I think if there's a way to do it safely and you want to play, yeah, sure, go for it. You want to be a kicker? Yeah, sure, go for it. But if you get hit, the risk, so don't complain about it, Do it the right way.
Let me ask you this. Do they do the powder puff game at Huff? I know they used to do it at Vance and Hopewell where I taught, where the females would have the juniors versus seniors. They would have a football game during homecoming week, and at both schools where I worked, they ended up having to outlaw it almost, because the girls would just get so rough. I mean, they took it very seriously. Do they do it at Huff?
They do it at Huff. I don't think it is as serious as that. I grew up playing backyard football. It's part of the reason I'm so into doing this now. But I think girls or people underestimate how aggressive teenage girls are. I mean, I've definitely hit someone in the face playing basketball. I'm not going to deny it. It's happened. I've run people over on first base. There's a certain amount of competitiveness of a teenage girl, so that is not, I think, the issue in football. It's more of the physical aspect of injuries and you just not being able to compete for that spot, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm just going to bring something up. I wonder if anyone has ever thought about on a serious level to have like a 7-on-7, bringing 7-on-7 for females, so that or your flag football or 7-on-7, to give them an opportunity. Those that don't want to take the hit or recognize the risk, but want that competitiveness and some of the play of the game. That might be an interesting thought. Florida High School Association now sanctions female flag football, so I think that'd be really cool. Women are, but it will get very aggressive because, Gary, just think about it. If you had 11, if 11 women were around you and you were the enemy, that wouldn't get.
Don't forget now, I coached girls basketball for over 20 years.
So. You know how
right,
it is.
Yeah.
It
exactly.
Guys just wipe it off. Like, you say something to me, like, we're going like we're going all in. Like there's going to be consequences for your word.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so finally, Gary, it looks like, and Kenzie, it looks like next week, the CMS is going to finally let kids start working out for football. So normally we have in a season, you have your spring workouts, and then you have, of course, you're lifting all the time. Or most of them are still lifting, and then you've got the spring football. Then we have the summer sessions where they do all the teamness, togetherness, and playing 7-on-7. Well, that all is really going to be condensed between now and hopefully a potential go time. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Will we be able to make it? Will that be enough preparation for us to play football?
I think a lot of these guys are already preparing on their own. I was at Bailey today, and there's a bunch of guys out there running routes, doing footwork things. A lot of these guys are lifting by themselves and being really creative on, how to get themselves in shape and ready so that they can speed up that preseason process and that they're ready to go whenever. And so I think they're not behind because these student athletes have taken initiative to do the things they need to do to get ready.
Yeah, they'll be ready. It's enough time. As Kenzie said, these kids that love the game, they've already been working out. They're already running. If they don't have access to weights, they're coming up with creative ways to get lifting in. Just old-fashioned push-ups with backpacks, doing things with loaded backpacks. They will be ready. I think it'll be more than enough time for them to get ready. The other sports that are coming before football this time have already started, and the enthusiasm of just them, having to do it because a coach is blowing the whistle. In the past, you could see dread like, oh, time to run another sprint. Got to do one more sprint. Got to do one more burpee. You don't get that complaint right now. They are very enthusiastic about just being out there as a group, as a team. So I think everything will be fine.
That's a good point about the I'll run one more sprint because they realize what they've lost. Mm-hmm. And I hope that doesn't push them to go to some kind of edge that they're not prepared for. The weightlifting part is they all face it, and so all the guys in Charlotte, when we play, we're not going to be going around the state playing, so they're going to be at the same physical levels as everyone else is. So I think the biggest thing, guys, is just getting that preparation of new coaches and teamness, like the guy that I see here with his new team. Getting that work in with those two teams. So you guys are all going to do a coach versus coach. So Gary's stepping in for Grice, and I guess they need to drop whatever music we got for that.
Same result as always.
That's what I was. Yeah, I didn't mean to step on you, Coach. I was going to say, but hey, Dale, you and Kenzie and Gary, y'all did a great job. But Sam, you got this new guy down here, Gary, who's right there beside you in the queue. Does he have a chance tonight? That's just all I need to know.
Well, I mean, at least he's taking it serious. That's what I like about it. Like he hasn't shaved all week. He's got the rough look. He's ready to roll. It's still going to be the same result though as if Grice was here. They're going down. Every point he's going to make is going to be wrong. Same old, same old.
Well, Langston, let's go ahead and play that music so we can get to it.
All right.
All right, I got my man Coach, and I got my other man Coach, Coach Richmond, Coach Griner. Hey, before we get to that, I just wanted to touch on something that was brought up in the 2-minute warning with Gary and Dale and Kenzie. In Florida, the Florida High School Athletic Association, I did live in Florida for a year and have helped. I've got a good friend, Josh Wilson, who runs FloridaHSFootball.com. They do a spring female flag football league that is sanctioned by the state. They do a state champion, playoffs. It is a huge deal down there. And that's something that's been ultra successful. And, I would love to see something like that introduced not only here in the Carolinas, but in other states, because one, I think it's something that young people can do, and I want to see them active and have opportunities to just do stuff and just get off the couch. But two, it's a whole lot of fun to cover. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I see, I've played in a lot of flag football leagues, and a lot of females play in it because the physicality is not a big difference. Then you're not able to block and you're not able to hit people. So they have the skill to do it. There's no doubt about that. It's been proven. So, yeah, I'm really for it.
Is it spring or fall, Chris?
It's in the spring.
Okay. I was just wondering how it would compete against field hockey and women's soccer, which we have in North Carolina in the spring.
Yeah. And, that's some interesting consideration that you bring up, Gary. So it's certainly something to look at. If you guys like, I can provide you guys with some information just to kind of take a look at it. But, man, coach versus coach tonight, we got some great questions. I'm looking forward to it. Gary, since you were on with Dale at the 2-minute warning, I'm going to give you about a minute to kind of get a breather, and I'm going to give Sam the first shot at this first question.
Go ahead.
Coach versus coach, thoughts on the Panthers and the Falcons. Coach Griner, what you got?
Well, I'm impressed with the Panthers. I was the one guy saying that I think they should tank and maybe try to get the first pick in the draft, but that doesn't look like that's going to happen. Matt Rule's got different plans. They're playing with a lot of passion. He got rid of a lot of the older hats on the team, even Luke Kuechly and things of that nature, because he wants to start fresh. He wants to start his own culture, and you can see that coming into the fold now. Falcons are on the other end of the spectrum. They're struggling really bad. So I don't think the Falcons can win this game, but in that division, you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I would be the first to commend Matt Rule. I'm really shocked that the Panthers have won 2 games because I thought they were tearing it down and they were going to start with a new foundation. And usually that means a lot of losing, but those guys are playing well right now. They're definitely not tanking for Trevor. And when people say tanking, I think that the misconception is the players don't play hard, the coaches don't coach hard, and that's not the case. It's the front office telling the coach, you got to play all these young, inexperienced players. Mm-hmm. And he's doing that and still winning. So that tells you what kind of coach. I mean, they've won 2 games without their best player. That in itself says a lot. And the Falcons, oh gosh, they're a train wreck right now. They had linebackers playing safety last night. They're so banged up, and everybody's just waiting for the axe to fall on the head coach. But the Panthers never, ever win in Atlanta for some reason, even when they have the better team.
Yes. And I wanted to bring that up to you guys because I had done some research on this. The 2 teams that Carolina have played more than anybody else in league history, the Falcons and New Orleans. And they played New Orleans 51 times. They got that 1 extra game because they had a playoff game in there. But in those 50 games, I'm going to look at it right here to make sure I'm right. Atlanta leads the series 32-18, and it really hadn't even been close. And like you said, Carolina really struggles on the road.
Yeah. And the one thing that was very impressive to me is I talked to Will Greer at the game Friday. He's watching his father, and I was asking him about Matt Rule. Like, he's like, the one thing that he loves about him so much is he holds the coaches accountable. Instead of a player makes a mistake, he goes and looks at the coach, and he like, hey, coach, what's going on here? So he holds them on the highest accountability, and I think that's really important. The players see that. They're not like, we're making millions of dollars and you're just ripping us. Like it's a effect that's going across the whole team where they actually see the head coach like getting on the assistant coaches, not in a bad way, but just holding them accountable.
Now, Chris,
I agree.
What was the Panthers' record against Atlanta overall?
32-15. 32-18. The Falcons lead the series 32-18.
Okay.
Well, what's the next question we got up on the agenda? Coach versus coach. And Gary, I'll give you the first shot at this one. Best offense ever, 2020 Kansas City or the greatest show on turf, Kurt Warner and the 99 Rams?
I'm going to go with KC, and here's why. Patrick, my homeboy, okay? I think he is going to, before it's over, barring injury, he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He will win at least 4 MVPs and Super Bowls. I think if you match up the skill players, the Rams may have a slight advantage as far as the best wide receivers with Isaac Bruce, Ozzie,
Tony Horn,
Ricky
Prohl,
Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. I mean,
what, you can't talk about my team. Are you going to talk about your team, or you going to hype up my team?
But here's the difference. We know offense is based on the quarterback. And even though Kurt Warner is a Hall of Famer, okay, in the 3rd year with the Rams, he got beat out by Mark Bulger. Okay, he is not anywhere on the level of Patrick, my homeboy. So I'm gonna say before it's all over, the receivers that Casey has and Kelsey, the Rams never had a tight end. Okay, and that's something that everybody has a problem matching up with KC is a tight end. He's too fast for linebackers. He's too big for safeties. And so I'm going to go with KC just by a hair because of Kelsey, and who's going to be a Hall of Famer, and the quarterback, who is the best to come along in the last 10 years.
This is going to be a lot easier than I thought. To be honest with you, it's kind of disturbing, to hear you say certain things, and you're naming all my guys. You got Marshall Faulk, but Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, and don't forget Orlando Pace on the O-line was one of the best O-linemen at the time. Okay, but here's the thing. They scored 526 points that year. It's the second most ever in the history of the game in the entire season. Okay, the only one that's better is the 2013 Broncos. Okay, now here's the other deal. Averaging 33 points a game, that's a lot. Did you watch this last game with New England? Did they struggle a little? Did they score 33? I can't remember. No, they didn't. So,
but
it's
the
not
Rams didn't get 33 against Patrick either.
Patrick, my homeboy. Hey, you had your time. You better sit your tail over there. All right. So check it out. Patrick, you're my homeboy. Okay, I love him. He's a real deal. The question doesn't say who has the best quarterback. It says who has the best offense ever, and that's the greatest show on turf.
All right, and let me dig into this one just a little bit because I'm pretty heavily one-sided as well. Gary, you might be right. Over the course of his time, Patrick, my homeboy, might end up being the best. But we're talking about the best season ever. And Kurt Warner might have been bagging groceries in 1998, but in 1999, he was the absolute star. He was down the field. And remember, he wasn't even the first starter on opening day. Who was it that got hurt?
Trent Green.
Trent Green got hurt, and Kurt Warner came on there, and they were 4-0 like you couldn't believe, and they was scalding the 49ers and the Panthers and all those good guys. And let's not forget Marshall Faulk and everybody. That offense was just nasty, and it was evident from early on in day one that they were going to be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, as they did, although by a hair over the Titans, but that was a great season.
Now, and you brought up last night, Sam, okay? Who is the coach that stopped the greatest show on turf?
Bill Belichick.
Okay, so he knows how to do it. He did it again last night. If it hadn't been for bad quarterback play, or if Cam had been there, the Patriots would have won last night.
Well,
good point, but
yeah, it is. The Rams should have never changed that ugly gold uniform. Them bright yellow gold they had, that Eric Dickerson look, that was the best look. That whole 2001 season, 2000, that was not a good year for the Rams, even though they did go back to the Super Bowl. But Langston, what do we got next?
They didn't lose though to the Patriots. Remember that this is 99. I ain't talking about the whole page or the.
That's right. All right. Hey, this is one that I really wish we had Coach Grice on here for. But Gary, we're we're going to allow you to be in. Do high school coaches try to do too much on offense? Sam, I'll start with you.
No, I don't think they do too much on offense. I think as a coach, you have to work on your craft constantly because the game's changing so much. There is a select few coaches out there that probably do too much, yes, but the majority, I would say, no, they don't do too much offensively because if you ask the players on their team, they know exactly what they're supposed to do by the game time. Not a lot of mental mistakes in high school you would think would happen because of the the ability to do so much stuff, but they keep it within the system. It might look like a lot and do different formations, but it's the same play in different formations, I think.
I'm gonna give a caveat to that. Okay, here is my argument. If it's an offensive coordinator calling the plays versus if it's the head coach calling the plays. Okay. Now, Sam, you're a head coach, and your first year, you say you're gonna run the offense, but it's gonna be your defense. You're gonna coach your offense in a complementary manner to not get your defense in trouble.
Exactly.
And vice versa. Okay. So you're coaching for the team. But I found when you have coaches, when you have an offensive coordinator where he's only concerned about the offense. He's not calling plays.
I need a name.
Yeah. He's not calling plays for field position to help the defense. He doesn't care if he goes 3 incompletions or not. I've seen too many times as offensive coordinators, they want to show you how much they know as opposed to how much the team can do. And the reason they want to show you how much they know is because ultimately they want to become a head coach.
Exactly. And I like both of your points. And Gary, let me expand on that. I've often said this, and I didn't coin the phrase. It was told to me by what I consider to be a Hall of Fame level coach. But he says, you show me a young offensive coordinator, and I'll show you a coach that's going to tell me everything he knows within the first 10 plays of his play calling, because he is trying to impress upon you how much he knows and to be more complex than he probably needs to be versus just running the 4 or 5 basic plays that get him. Now, Sam, you said something that I really like. You can look like you have the most complex offense in the world, and you can formation a team to death and really run the same plays out of a lot of different looks. In the way you've got combination routes and the way you can name stuff, you don't have to use that complex passing tree anymore. You can use different names and things like that. I think it allows for you to have a more complex offense than maybe it really looks to be.
Yeah, and then the other thing is too that we're not taking the accountability for this question is that a lot of kids wear armbands now. You can literally put on armbands exactly what they're supposed to do. You can yell out, run yellow 17, and then all of a sudden they can look down and say, all right, I blocked down. You know what I'm saying? So, it's not that hard, I don't think. But, I understand Gary's point. Just, it's not a better point than myself.
I think it's 2 good points by both of you. Okay, let's go on to the next question then. Let's see what we can rile up. And hey, I like this one too. Gary, I'll give you the first crack at this one. Helmet decals or not? Let's go for it.
I'm gonna show you. I got a prop for you.
And by this, I want to make sure I'm reading.
Look how little that trophy is.
Okay, and let me make sure that we've got this right. I'm not talking about, like the West Charlotte WC on the side. We're talking about the achievement sticker. Yeah, so let's be a little bit more specific.
Okay, you see what these are? These are participation trophies that I got when I was in the 2nd grade, the 3rd grade, and in the 4th grade playing Pop Warner football at St. Anne's. Everybody on the team got one. I don't know how much I contributed to us winning because I never touched the ball. Sometimes I never even touched the field, but everybody got one of these. When you talk about helmet stickers, you're talking about participation, and we're talking high school football game. It's not about participation when you get to high school. It's about who can play, who's going to get on the field, who contributes to the winning. And what you have, and I've been on it both sides, where you give out these stickers and you have all these long faces of kids that didn't get a sticker. They practiced all week. They lifted weights all week. They did all the sprints, and they didn't get a sticker. Okay, I think the sticker part is better served for this level. Okay, when you get to high school, everybody gets a sticker. That's the logo. Okay, let's play football. Everybody wins. Everybody loses. Everybody doesn't get a reward when we win and lose.
I'm gonna get my trophy real quick and show you the difference. I'm gonna show you the difference in the trophy right there, okay? And that's helmet decals, okay? Let me tell you why it's important, okay? That little trophy right there. I mean, you still kept them though. That's the funny thing about it.
I had to go find them, but
I hear you. All right, so here's the deal. Imagine being an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and you might have had 2 tackles the entire game, but you whooped the center. You put him on his butt, 15 times and drove him back, and you created the angles for your defense to make good plays. So you can give stickers for technique. You can give stickers for technique. You can do for the details that you don't really see in the game. Yeah, everybody knows who runs and throws and catches the ball. You don't necessarily need it for that, but you still can give it. But it's more for how creative can a coach be by using stickers for, doing their job, doing the little things right, because that's the biggest thing that we miss is doing the little things right in high school. When you start getting to the NFL, you don't need stickers because you're getting paid. They know what they're doing. That's why that they do the little details. They do their job, is what Bill Belichick would say. But it's hard to tell a defensive lineman, no, don't shoot through the gap. You got technique on this play. Don't pick a side. I want to go make the tackle. If he thinks he's got to make the tackle to get his name in the paper instead of getting a sticker, then that's an issue.
Well, I am one of those guys, and granted, I did not have a lot of the stickers because I wasn't that good. But with that being said, I love the stickers for achievement on the helmet because I think it's a way, like you said, Coach, to motivate your player. And you've got those guys, especially, those guys that, they're not dirty. They're physical inside the trenches. Man, they put a kid on their tail. I want to reward him for that. So, I like it. I'm old school. I love watching some of those teams like Maiden who have a ton of them, and their blue helmets are white by the end of the year because they got so many stickers. I think that's something that's special about high school football.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the best sticker is on a helmet? You got that white helmet, and you got that blue streak here, and you got that green streak here, and you got that red streak here from all that work. Those are stickers too.
Hey,
at least they were when I played.
You watched Ohio State, and they had all the little stars on the side.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, Gary,
you can't give it to them for doing their job. They have to exceed.
What'd you say, Langston?
I'm sorry.
I said you won that question before, the one before.
And normally I would probably side with Sam for winning, but just because Gary went back and found those old trophies, I'm giving him the win tonight.
Don't do that.
Gary, I got one more thing for you, Gary. I got one more
trophy out.
Coach versus coach, Gary. How about the Dallas Cowboys?
Where them boys at?
They have no team.
Where them boys?
Hey, that's an example, just like we talked about an offensive coordinator doing too much. That's an example of a defensive coordinator doing too much. Those guys can't line up. They can't play the technique. They're thinking, and if you're thinking on defense, you're already beat.
Hey, I promise
you. Points to the Browns, man.
I promise you right now, and I'm not just joking. I right now could be a better defense coordinator for the Cowboys. I promise you.
Am I right, Sam? They can't get lined 100%. Up. You can't get lined up. You can't play your technique.
My number 704-840. Put it in the chat.
Well, Sam, since you're talking, Sam, we're gonna put you on the one shot.
Well, I'm just excited that we're starting football workouts, not practice necessarily, but workouts starting Monday. And it's going to be my first time meeting the West Charlotte guys. And I'm so excited. We got a lot of paperwork we got to get turned in, and we got to get physicals in. We got to check temperatures, the whole deal, and be safe about it. But I'm just excited to get in the trenches again and just, smell the football weather again. I'm excited.
Yes. It's gonna be special. I mean, everybody's gonna be back next week playing football of some sort in Charlotte. I think it's gonna be a fun week. We got a huge football game next week with Charlotte Christian in Providence Day. We're going to try to have some of those guys on and really give you guys a flavor of the game. So I was trying to do an hour today. We went a little bit over because our 2-minute warning segment was like the 20-minute
warning.
Yeah, we should call it the halftime show.
We're just going to give them 2 questions next week instead of 3. All right, that's Chris, that's Sam, that's Kenzie, that's Dale, that's Gary. We'll catch you next week on Talking Preps.